Wake up, Tri-Counties, from our Save-A-Lot studio. Good morning, I'm Sean Kernan. Scott Mann is the director of a brand new movie called Fall. It's in theaters nationwide this weekend, and it's about two extreme climbers who give themselves a very unique challenge for their YouTube channel. They are going to climb the tallest TV tower in America, a truly dangerous and probably terrible idea. And indeed, it turns out to be a terrible idea, especially after they get trapped at the very top of the tower, some 2,000 feet in the air. This movie is terrifying. It is incredible. And Scott Mann is the director of Fall. And I had a chance to talk to him about how he created this rather incredible movie. Joining us now is the filmmaker behind the new movie Fall. We're talking with Scott Mann. And Scott, how are you?
I'm great, thank you. Thanks, Sean.
Scott, I'm afraid of heights now. Thanks a lot.
It's my pleasure.
This movie is incredible, man. I watched this thing and I think I might have passed out once, honestly, because what you achieve in this is so complete. It really does feel like these two women are in the most dangerous situation possible. They've climbed up to the top of one of the tallest towers in America, and they're trapped there. And what a challenge to set for yourself as a director.
Yeah. The challenge is filming it. I think that's kind of what it came down to, and I think the key to that was just finding a way to film it for real and film it so we're really at that height and really filming it like that. And that was probably the hardest thing to get past and to work out. So, but I think the endeavor was the journey to get there for sure. And then once we kind of figured that part out, we were able to kind of go at it and really capture something special, I think.
Talk about the technical challenges, how you achieved some of this. I don't want you to give away all your tricks, but at least give us some idea of how we arrive at this, because this feels so real. It's so
well, to be honest, it feels real because it is real, and I think a good example of how this has worked. I think increasingly as filmmaking audience, when I want to watch a movie, I think we're all very aware of kind of when something is not real or real, and it really kind of can change how we view something. And I think Top Gun's a great example of this, right? Mm-hmm. Like filming the aerial stuff for real and the immersion of kind of being there. It's more than just what you're filming in front of the camera. It's how the camera behaves, how it's rigged, how the sound people work, how everyone works around this energy of reality is very different. And I always felt that with stunt work in previous movies. I always kind of pushed to do stunts for real, to really do things so that you're capturing something special and something kind of so subconsciously different that you know it's real. Mm-hmm. And so for this one, it had to be real, really, because otherwise the truth is, if it wasn't for real, it would have been a $50-100 million movie, and there's no way it gets made in today's environment when you already have to have like IP in place and all those other things. So to do an original movie like this, you have to go the other way and basically strip it back and say, okay, let's strip this right down. And how do we capture this? How do we do it? And it basically meant the kind of core, kind of really like A-list team though, right? Like get together as a core team, strip right back. And we found a location that was top of like 2,000 Shadow Mountain, a big mountain, mm-hmm. 2,000 foot in the air, with a big cliff drop off. And we basically found that and then built a tower at the edge of that. The actual guys who built the original tower that the film is based on, we actually got the same guys to build us our tower. And that allowed us a way to film it at that height and really kind of get the environment, capture the environment, and film it like that on these big cameras and big landscapes and do it for real. And that was the key to kind of getting this film working.
Wow, it definitely works. I can tell you that from my very visceral reaction to it.
I love your reaction. It's like, that sounds great.
But part of the excitement and part of what really works here and getting really digging down on the technical side of it is also the sound design is incredible. That scraping of metal against metal and those close-ups of things that are kind of coming apart, that is exciting, and that part of it really makes it feel even more visceral.
Yeah, and I think again, it comes back to this theatrical experience, in my view, right? Is that there is a when you go to the cinema, you have an opportunity to really kind of wrap people up in this full immersive experience, and sound is as important as vision for sure. And we had like incredible sound teams like Dave Barber, Alex Joseph, and principally the editor Rob Hall, who cares as much about sound as he does about vision always. And we went into it with that attitude of, okay, it's actually like, this is an experience from Becky's point of view. Let's use the film grammar of it is to kind of really get that across. And so getting the sound right is essential. And we had this incredible sound design just brings it all to life, you know.
Oh, absolutely. I was feeling it. Let's talk about your actors. These two women are incredibly brave.
And surprisingly alive. They are, yeah, no, they're incredibly brave, and they did, like, I think right from the start of this process. I remember I met with a lot of actors about it, and the way that I found with actors, what can happen is they'll say they can do many things that maybe aren't 100% confident about, and I had to be sure about them being comfortable with how we were going to film it. So I remember being on kind of Zoom interviews, showing them the plans, showing them the cliff, showing them the engineering plans of the tower, and saying, you're going to be on this tiny little thin thing right at the top, and showing them how we were planning to do it. And that kind of washed away a lot of pretenders, let's just say. And then with Ginny and Grace, like, not only were they so accomplished in their own right, but when they did a chemistry test together, and we kind of, I had them read like 2 of the essential scenes and perform it, even though it was only on Zoom, to be honest. They just nailed it so well, and they just had this natural connection that you felt like they've been friends for a lifetime. And now they are like very close friends. Like, it goes to show, I think they always had the components to be best friends, just from their personality types. So I you know, they were incredible, and what they went through, doing their own stunts and all this stuff, like, they really beat themselves up because they really wanted to be doing it justice. And so they I can't sing their praise high enough. They absolutely make the film as well, because without those, like, I think they're the most essential part of this whole film is Grace and Ginny, and the performances that they give that carry you through it.
And of course, the emotional underpinning between the two of them. But I think what really brings the emotion of it as well is casting Jeffrey Dean Morgan. It seems like taking a guy who is he's a very big star in many ways, and putting him in this rather small role. It's so important to have a guy who people are going to be thinking about during the movie, and that's why you cast Jeffrey Dean Morgan.
Well, yeah, I guess, you know, the truth is, like, I'd worked with Jeff. A few years back on a film called Heist, and we loved working with him then. I even then I remember, like, Jeff's vulnerability and the way he can kind of play characters is amazing. I've always loved it. We became friends, and then when we wrote this part, John and I specifically wrote it like for Jeff, and we were like, we want the perfect dad, the guy who has very limited screen time in essence of, like, what he has, but it's the most vital screen time. It has to carry what it needs to carry, has to mean what it needs to mean, and it has to kind of hold that kind of emotional weight through the whole movie to really work. And he jumped at it and loved it, and it was great to work with him again. I love Jeff to bits. He's a superstar.
You managed to invest emotion into a Steve Austin bobblehead that I was like,
do you like that? Yeah, I'm
really
hats off to John O'Cora for that, because he's the wrestling fan, and actually that bobblehead lives in my desk at home. Just so it's right there. That's my memento from Fall, funnily enough.
I love visual filmmaking like that, and it's such a wonderful little callback. Nobody has to talk about it; it's just visually there, and you're like, oh wow.
I'm glad you caught that, because good, thank you.
Yeah, I'm big fan of that, but I'm a big fan of just about everything you did in this movie. I mean, it's so the choices that you're making as a filmmaker, setting yourself with this challenge of trying to come up with incidents in this place where you're not completely relying on flashbacks. That's a really huge challenge.
Yeah, it is. But that's what makes it exciting, actually, I think, as a project, right? You write yourself into a corner, an impossible corner, and then you kind of figure your way out of it. And myself and Jonathan, as a writing exercise, when we kind of came up with the central concept, central idea, we'd found the location and we knew what it wanted to kind of be. But when we came about blocking and writing and really, like, getting everything together, we actually cut out a plywood version of the ledge with like a pole. We kind of propped it up on something. We both sat on it, and we kind of worked out what we would do, and really kind of strained our brains to think, if my life depended on it, what am I going to do? And kind of take and weirdly, it was nice to write, because it kind of progressed in a very natural way. And I think obviously very conscious of trying to fulfill the larger goal of the film, which is to really kind of play all the different kind of notes of horror of heights and fear of falling and all the different emotions you want to kind of play with, want to be like wrapped into sequences, but from how the characters behave and weaving through and in and out of different situations was very natural and it was a lot of fun, in all honesty, doing that.
Oh, it's fun to watch too. I mean, as terrified as I was, it was very fun to watch.
It's good. I'm glad it terrified you. That's good. It's I look at it like a theme park ride, honestly. Like you go on it, it's terrifying. You know it's going to be terrifying, and go through it, and at the end, hopefully, you're happy as you step off the ride and think, I want to go again.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
It reminded me of skydiving almost. Like you're excited while it's happening. You're excited that it's over.
Yeah, exactly. That should be the review.
Oh man! So I mean, just the fun of this and choosing the location that you chose, and then, I mean, I was getting excited just by any time they would lean one way or another. Just, I mean, it's such a simple thing, but you invest in it so much.
I'm glad you said that, because there's a lot of that. Obviously, did a lot of that on purpose, right? Like in terms of like the teasing of like what's great. One of the things that's fun to play with here is tension of audience being ahead of the characters, and the idea that you see a bolt slip or you see something, and then they're doing something which is just ridiculous because and that's the build of tension, right? And so I think it was a lot of fun to play with it, and it's almost like a piece of music where you mess with different things. And I think again, I'll give more kudos to Rob Hall, the editor, for really kind of orchestrating and playing that out in the way that was most effective. And actually, he did such a great job of kind of taking us through that ride and the different flavors of that ride, and just being with where the audience is a hard job, to really like listen to the whispers of human reaction to do it. So yeah, kudos to Rob, the editor, for balancing that out.
You smartly use your score as well. The way you use your score, you've got a couple of big thunderous moments of score, and then a lot of quiet. And the choices of when to use that are very smart in this movie.
Thank you. Yeah, and kudos to Tim Despic, who did like what Tim and I have done a few films now, and what we were very conscious going in, like there is a huge kind of sound design component, and there's a sparse element of the environment, but also there is like musically there is the certain things and themes and melodies that you kind of want to play through as a score. And it was being very conscious of like even technical things of the frequency ranges that we were going to play in to do the sound design space you want to keep out of, so that the score can really lift up and over and not clash with that. So it was by design, it was interesting to kind of set those guardrails of how the score had to be written. And Tim just did this incredible job of just really nailing the emotion of the moments. And he showed me a track of the end of the movie, the kind of the biggest track you can say of Becky's, and he showed me the kind of I think he showed me first of all the melody, just the piano melody, which I fell in love with immediately, but then he showed me the big version of where it got to, and I was bowled over. I love the music so much, and then like wrapping a score around that and then getting from this to that was enormous fun, and he just completely nailed it. I love it. I'm in love with my score for sure.
I love this movie. I think it's fantastic, Scott. I think you've achieved something pretty incredible here. I can't wait for other people to get a chance to see it. And on the big screen, I mean,
that's the biggest screen possible, Sean. That's what I keep. Having seen it a few different times, different ways, I would 100% biggest screen you can get to is what I would recommend. And that provides the biggest ride for sure.
Strap yourself in for sure.
Absolutely.
Scott, man, thank you so much. The movie is terrific. I've got a full rave review already ready to go. So thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Thanks, Sean. Lovely. Pleasure talking.